What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are live. Good morning, everybody. It is 6:30. I've been up since 4 o'clock, and I am sick as a dog, as you can probably hear in my voice. But you know what? If I didn't do this live stream and I didn't get this information out there, then it would really bother me. I wouldn't be able to relax today, because I just see the onslaught of attacks from the mainstream media, from the Krasenstein bros, from all these people that are taking this onslaught, this tranche of 22,000 emails and selectively highlighting certain things, which they think are like smoking gun evidence that Trump was a pedophile, that he was trafficking girls alongside Jeffrey Epstein, when in reality, each one that I have seen over and over and over, I was up late last night, just refreshing my X feed over and over and over and watching as people, mainly the Krasenstein bros, would take these emails and highlight them, and they would act as if this is like a smoking gun bombshell that Trump is guilty. And when I'm reading it, I'm like, this is proof that he's innocent, over and over and over. And it just bothered me so much. It kept me up late. Hey guys, I see you coming into the chat. Again, forgive me, I am sick, very sick. Good morning, Suzette, one of my few members on this channel. Shout out to you. Thank you for your support. I just wanted to dive right in, guys, because what I'm seeing is something that I believe is going to absolutely backfire on the Democrats, on the deep state, on all these people that are trying to use the Epstein narrative to deflect from their failures. And that's what I think this is. And Donald Trump does as well. Before we even get into this, let's pull this up. This is Trump's reaction to all this Epstein crap. And I want you to you guys be the judge. Does he seem worried? Does he seem concerned about any of this stuff? Or does he seem confident and is trying to redirect the Republicans onto the right track? So here's what he says. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country while at the same time putting many at risk. And they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else. And any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. Ask yourself, does he seem concerned? I mean, I've seen Trump from time to time kind of go on like a rant, a tangent, and just like in all caps and be kind of frantic at times. And when he takes that tone, it almost seems like they're getting to him. That's kind of my take when he's screaming on True Social in all caps. It's when something really bothers him and it's getting to him. This is like a very cool, calm, collected Trump. He doesn't seem to be worried here. However, I don't think this is where I disagree with Trump. I disagree with how he's handled this situation. I'm not going to lie, because it's become clear that there's nothing there in this Epstein stuff that would make Trump culpable. And so why even tell people, don't look over there when you know that the media and the Democrats are going to force this issue? They're going to force this narrative. They're going to force this conversation. You're not going to be able to ignore it. You're not going to be able to look away. So why not confront it head on? Why don't we all attack this with the same vigorousness and tenacity as the Democrats and put the truth out there? That's how I feel about it. Because they're going to say their propaganda talking points over and over and over. And a lot of people are going to believe it. But when the truth is on your side, there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to run from here. And so far, so good. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've gone through all 22,000, but I've read enough that I don't see anything incriminating here. In fact, I see a total setup, a total attempted smear campaign, dating back. I mean, it's very clear when you look at this stuff. And we're going to pull some of the the emails up and go through them, it's very clear that Epstein had it out for Trump, that he actually had TDS. He hated him. He wanted to he worked with the media, as we'll pull up in a second, to try to smear him. He helped them craft narratives. He worked directly with the New York Times reporters to try to use Trump's proximity to Epstein to smear him in the media. I'll show you in just a moment, but I want to go through things kind of in an order here. I've got just a handful of things I want to pull up. Excuse me. Again, very sick, but it's important that we do this. I want to show you guys real quick. We're going to have to revisit, if we want to do this right, we're going to have to revisit what we talked about a little bit yesterday, because there's something that went way over my head that people have now figured out, and I want to make sure that this gets out there. CanCon, Brian Lupo, good friend, one of the band members, actually put this together. He was the first person that I heard articulate this, and now other people are starting to catch on. So let's go back to this email right here. This is the one that they are calling the smoking gun. This is what the media has latched onto, and it has completely backfired already and crumbled. And it is this one. So this is the email where Epstein and Maxwell were communicating. This is gvacation@gmail.com. Yeah, that's Jeffrey Epstein. gvacation@gmail.com is Epstein, and Gmax is Ghislaine Maxwell, where they say, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. And they redacted the victim's name, which we now know is Virginia Giuffre. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So the media, they latched onto this, spent hours at my house with him, one of the victims, and they're trying to say this is proof that Trump was spending time with underage girls at Epstein's house. Now, now that we know the name of the victim is actually Virginia Giuffre, we know that she exonerated Trump in her deposition, where she said that he did nothing wrong. He didn't have sex with underage girls. He never flirted with her. They redacted her name for a reason. And I can prove that to you, that they did this intentionally because they were trying to paint a narrative, because they said they redacted the name of this victim to protect them. And how does that make any sense when Virginia Giuffre is deceased? God rest her soul. She's passed away. So how do you protect somebody who's not alive? They did this for a reason. Now, let's get into the interesting part here. I want to talk about what Epstein's actually saying here. This quote that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. That is actually a famous literary quote that comes from Arthur Conan Doyle's 1892 story, Silver Blaze. This is a Sherlock Holmes reference. And what it means when a dog doesn't bark, it means the absence of an expected reaction. And think about the context here. When you really look into this, it's very clear that Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein were trying to figure out if Trump was a mole or an informant. And they think it's kind of hard to interpret this with any accuracy because we don't have the full context. But it looks like what they're assuming here is that because Trump spent time with Virginia Giuffre at his house, and he didn't alert authorities, that means that he's not the mole. That's kind of how I interpret this. They're like, there's a mole. Somebody is leaking stuff to the FBI or the police chief. Maybe they're referring to the police chief since they said police chief in this email. Now, I'm not sure, but somebody's leaking this. Somebody's on our case. Somebody's on our trail. And the dog that didn't bark is Trump. So they're sort of saying, I don't think he's the mole. Now, they say I'm 75% there. Ghislaine Maxwell says, I've been thinking about that. So they're trying to figure out who it is that's the mole, the dog that didn't bark. Um, so this just gets more and more interesting. We know that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, kicked him out of the club in, I believe, 2004. And we know, sorry guys, again, I know you guys are coming in here. Some of you guys just got here. I'm very, very sick. I have like some kind of upper respiratory infection, and I'm struggling to get through this, holding back from coughing all over the place. But so there's that. Now, they didn't think that Trump was the mole at the time. They didn't think that he was the one communicating with the FBI or authorities. But we know that Trump was working directly with law enforcement as early as 2005. And this was actually confirmed by House Speaker Mike Johnson, who had like a Freudian slip and let it out there that Trump was collaborating with law enforcement to take down Epstein. And it was like an accident that he said that. But we know that Trump was collaborating with law enforcement to take down Epstein. And if you need any more evidence, look no further than the fact that Epstein was taken down under the Trump administration. And there was actually emails with Epstein talking about how Bill Barr is kind of like Epstein was pissed that Bill Barr was the attorney general under Trump because he knew that Bill Barr was like a loyalist to Trump. And there's a lot of communications from Epstein where he seems very concerned about Trump and him working with law enforcement. Now, I want to go into the big bombshell. The big bombshell, which completely exonerates Trump from, at the very least, having sex with underage girls, which is really the main thing that we're all looking at here and should be mostly concerned with that, right? I'm not going to sit here and say Trump didn't make any mistakes. I'm not going to say that he didn't rub shoulders with the wrong people and that Trump's like this innocent saint. But when it comes to the big question, did Trump have sex with underage girls? We have absolute proof that that he didn't. In this email right here from Jeffrey Epstein himself, where he says, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is kind of like a incoherent this is like a bunch of ramblings, horrible punctuation, horrible spelling. But this email right here says, Trump knew of it and came to my house many times during that period. The testimony of the houseman John Alessi confirmed it. He never got a massage. Again, he never got a massage. Boom. So he never got a massage is code word for he never had sex with underage girls. That's from Epstein himself. And there's a lot of things happening here. The media, the Democrats, they're selectively taking the points that show that Trump knew of Epstein's activities and knew about the underage girls, and they're saying that he's culpable because of that. But there's also a lot of evidence where Epstein is saying that Trump never had sex with underage girls. He knew about it, but he didn't participate. There's another email where he says he never participated. So the question becomes, is Trump guilty based solely on the fact that he was aware of what Epstein was doing? And I guess that really depends on whether or not Trump was collaborating with law enforcement to take him down. Because as an informant, if you're working and collaborating with law enforcement, then the mere fact that he knew about Epstein's activities and nothing immediately happened does not prove that Trump did anything wrong. In fact, it could prove that he was working actively to take him down and was trying to work covertly and relay information to Epstein without tipping him off. And apparently he did a good if that is the case, apparently he did a good job because they referred to him as the dog that didn't bark. But they in that email we referenced a moment ago, they were obviously suspicious about the fact that for some reason in all these probes, in all of these investigations, Trump's name never comes up. Law enforcement doesn't target Trump. They're not questioning him. They're not like he seems to be protected by law enforcement, and they thought that was suspicious. When they're trying to determine who's the mole, they thought it was suspicious that Trump seems to be unscathed by law enforcement. They're not questioning him. They're not bringing his name up. He's not being brought in for questioning. So what's up with that? More again, this just proves that um, what the media is trying to use as evidence that Trump is guilty is actually evidence which exonerates him. Now, let's go on to this next one. So let me see here. I want to show you just how stupid Brian Krasenstein is and what a shill he is. Because this idiot tried to take one of the emails and use it as proof. Excuse me, guys. I'm trying not to hack all over the place and I have to stop talking for a second to catch myself before I cough. And I just slipped. So this is Brian Krasenstein, and he's highlighting an email from Jeffrey Epstein in 2015 to Landon Thomas Jr. Now, Landon Thomas Jr. is like a financier and former New York Times reporter. So here's the email. First of all, on Tuesday, December 8th, 2015, Thomas Jr. Landon, wrote about this story, this quote from Trump where he said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy." Trump booms from a speakerphone. "He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life." So Landon says, "That story will never die. Because of this, now everyone's coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump." Now, let me put this into context for you. Financial reporter, New York Times reporter Landon Thomas Jr. is sending this to Jeffrey Epstein and essentially saying, everyone's coming to me, a New York Times reporter, thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump. They want the juice. They want the goods. They're asking me, do I have any dirt on Trump? Right? And essentially, he's begging Jeffrey Epstein for some dirt. I need to have something here. When people come to me looking for the juice on Trump and Epstein, I want something that I can use. And here's what Jeffrey Epstein says back. "Read the BuzzFeed, read my airplane logs and Hawaiian tropic contest. Have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door." Okay, so this is what Jeffrey Epstein is giving to the New York Times reporter as dirt to write a story about. Now, first of all, are we to believe Jeffrey Epstein that he's a credible source, that he's trustworthy, that he tells the truth all the time? No. I mean, unless you're an idiot. This guy, again, as you start reading this stuff, clearly has TDS. He's clearly bitter about the fact that he was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago. He did not like Trump, and he was working with anybody who reached out to Epstein and wanted dirt on him, wanted to smear him, wanted a story. Epstein was right there to give it to him. He even advised people on how to use blackmail against Trump to get power over him and things like this. So this particular story we're talking about, let's say this story is true. Donald Trump at Epstein's house, there's Hawaiian bikini models at his house in a swimming pool, and Trump, looking at the girls, walks straight into the door. I mean, what is that really? First of all, not every single girl that was around Epstein was underage. That should be made clear. Second of all, I believe this Hawaiian bikini contest, there's actually photos of the girls that were involved in that. I'd seen them last night on Twitter, and people were pointing out the fact that these Hawaiian bikini model contests were all of age. So at the time that there was a time, remember that Donald Trump and Epstein were in close proximity to each other. They were neighbors essentially. And they did have, I'm sure Epstein had been to Mar-a-Lago and vice versa. We know this. It's not new information. And Epstein was always surrounded by beautiful women. That's how he lured and attracted people. And this is the whole Epstein thing. This is what he did. Is he would rub shoulders with powerful people, billionaires, politicians, powerful people, and he would try to flaunt his lifestyle to them and try to get them to engage with him and step into my world. And he's trying to flaunt to them, this is what I have to offer you. You hang out with me, you work with me, you collaborate with me. I got these beautiful women everywhere. And if they take the bait, then he brings them in a step further. And he starts to work with them and get them to do illegal activities. And the things become more and more degenerate, and the things become more and more illegal. And now Epstein has full control of you. So on the surface, the first thing is, I'm going to show you all these of age, beautiful women that surround me. Step into my world and I can show you more, right? So the fact that Trump was at his house and there's all these beautiful Hawaiian bikini models and Trump was ogling them like a heterosexual male. I mean, we know that Trump loves beautiful women. There's nothing new here. It doesn't imply anything. It doesn't mean anything. But that's what Krasenstein is trying to take and use as proof that Trump did something wrong, which I pointed out, hey, Krasenstein, idiot, retard, you just posted an email of a New York Times reporter begging Epstein for dirt on Trump, and the best Epstein could come up with was Trump looking at adult women by the pool like every normal guy on earth. I pointed that out to him on Twitter. And then I went on to show a secondary email. And I said, here's that same New York Times reporter tipping off Epstein about an investigation. New York Times reporters acting like Epstein's personal newsroom concierge, keeping him updated on who's sniffing around and reassuring him that he played dumb. So check this out. This is again Thomas Jr. Landon saying to Epstein, he is digging around again. And we don't know who he's talking about, but he said it's probably another fellow New York Times reporter that was doing like some sort of investigative report. And so Landon says to Epstein, he is digging around again. Not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version. Was asking me all sorts of questions about why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he is doing some Trump-related digging too. Anyway, for what it's worth. So tipping off Epstein about somebody snooping around, digging. And this is the New York Times reporter that Ed Krasenstein trusts so much and wants to put this out there like it's some smoking gun. But what it does, what all this proves, and the Michael Wolff emails prove, and many more prove, is that Epstein collaborated with the media to try to write smear pieces about Trump while protecting Epstein. This is the bombshell. This is the news. This is what people need to be blasting out there. And this is what it's crazy to me. It's just absolutely crazy to me that the Democrats and the propagandists and the Ed Krasensteins, they're taking these things and they're blasting them out there to the public, and they're actually incriminating their own people over and over and over. This is crazy. So I just want to show you guys a few examples of this. Again, we have multiple Epstein victims that have exonerated Trump under oath in depositions, saying that he never did anything wrong. He didn't flirt with underage girls. He didn't have sex with underage girls. We have Epstein himself saying that Trump never participated. He never got a massage. Um, Trump's own DOJ was what brought down Epstein. We have the fact that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. We have all these things working towards the notion that Trump is not a sexual predator or not engaged in sex trafficking with underage girls. And they're trying so hard to find something that will stick. Exactly. But this is going to blow up in their face. Unless there's more here that I haven't seen yet. That's going to, completely rock my world. I think this is going to backfire big time. And there's just so much more. I mean, I just wanted to highlight a few because you really only need to read a few of these things before it all starts to crumble. But this is definitely going to backfire. I really, again, I don't understand Trump's way of handling this. That's the thing that I just can't grasp. I think, Trump trying to divert everybody's attention and say, don't focus, don't look here, look over here. There's nothing there. It's all a big hoax. Forget about the whole thing. Nothing to see here. Move on is not the approach to be taking here, because you have to understand that your own base has latched on to Epstein and has for many years. It doesn't, a lot of trust has been lost in the FBI's handling of Epstein. Kash Patel putting out that footage of Epstein in his prison cell, and people saying that the footage was doctored, and people not buying the fact that he commits suicide. There's a lot of trust that's been broken with the handling of all this, and the fact that the DOJ is yet to arrest anybody that was having girls trafficked to them by Epstein. There's a lot of suspicion. There's a lot of people that just are saying something's not adding up here. So for you to then double down, and even as these emails are coming out and saying, forget about all this, it's a distraction, just move on. It's just not, I don't think that's the best way to handle it. But I will say this. There's a lot more that I didn't pull up today. I'm sure you'll see it yourself over time as the media keeps trying to highlight these things. But it's become increasingly clear that Epstein was a collaborator that had it out for Trump, that was working alongside the media and Democrats and others to try to damage Trump and use Trump's association and proximity to Epstein and his former relationship with him as like dirt to try to control and hurt Trump. That's clear from these emails. And now that we're seeing the emails in their raw form, all the little bits and pieces, and the story starting to make sense as to what was going on, now I kind of have a theory that maybe Trump knows a little bit more about Biden's DOJ and Biden's FBI and the way the investigations they were doing and the way they were trying to spin and cook something up here that Trump said it's all a hoax. Maybe he's referring to that, not all these the raw emails that we're seeing now, where we have the opportunity to put the pieces together ourselves, but the investigations cooked up by Merrick Garland. Excuse me, guys. It's disgusting. I'm sick. Those of you coming in late, I'm very sick. Trying to do my best here. But the investigations cooked up by Biden's DOJ, that's the spin. That's the crap. That's what he's saying. This is all a hoax. But at this point, I think it would be best to just attack it head on. Release everything. Leave no stone unturned. Put it all out there and just let the cards fall where they may. That's what I think needs to happen. So, because this isn't going to go away. This is not going to just be swept under the rug. It's the Democrats are latching on to this because they have to, because their party's in absolute shambles. they're in big trouble. They have nothing. They've doubled down on Marxism and craziness and elected Zoran Mamdani, and the shutdown has backfired and blew up in their face. And Chuck Schumer is toast. His career is over. There's infighting and division inside of the Democrat Party. And the only thing they have to deflect from their failures and their insanity is Epstein. And unfortunately, they're extremely effective in their messaging. They have the media in their pocket. They have the entire deep state apparatus working for them. So they're going to make this an issue which has to be addressed and hit head on. And the truth, if the truth truly is on our side, which I believe that it is, then it's not something to run from. It's something to tackle head on. And that's just my opinion. So let me now that's pretty much all that I had to pull up and show you guys the emails to go through. There's a lot more I had bookmarked on X and stuff, but I felt that there was just a few that I wanted to highlight that really paint the picture of what's going on here. And now I'm just going to sit here and read a couple of your comments. So, Suzette VI, one of my channel's only members of the 9-Foot Council. She is 9 foot tall. I have the documents to prove it. She says, I absolutely agree. Let those cards fall. Let the chips fall where they may. The truth's on your side. The truth will set you free. Nothing to hide. You know, those who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. I agree. The drip will never stop. Most likely they are holding back because of future litigation, or they are truly protecting people. That, oh yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There are certain things you can't put out there to the public because it would interfere with ongoing investigations. That is something that the the FBI always likes to deflect to that when Congress brings them in to testify, subpoenas Christopher Wray, and all you get is 2 hours of him saying that's part of an ongoing investigation, or Merrick Garland, that's part of an ongoing investigation. I can't speak on the matter because it's part of an ongoing investigation. Now, that's a deflection tactic, but it's actually true in some cases. So that's a good point. Micro Johnson. Whoa, that's a great nickname. I haven't heard that. That's hilarious. Oh, thank you for that. Midas Cam says Micro Johnson is being extorted by Trump, in my honest opinion, Epstein style. The loyalty from some members of the GOP go past greed for power and looks like a no choice situation for self-preservation. Oh, that's hilarious. I can't even respond to your comment because the Micro Johnson thing threw me off. That's hilarious. But look, guys, I could be completely wrong here. I'm not somebody, like I said yesterday, I'm not somebody that carries water for the president. If you remember when I was on YouTube, and especially following the ban from YouTube 4 years ago, when we were on Rumble, Telegram, like I'm not somebody that just is a complete and utter Trump loyalist that thinks he's, perfect and can do no wrong, and everything he says, even when it's stupid, is like cryptic. I'm not one of these guys, man. I criticize Trump when I disagree with him. But in this instance, I think this is a total hit job. I really do. That's my gut instinct. And my instincts are usually pretty accurate. I do think this is a total hit job. And I'm not going to sit here and allow it and not say anything about it. I'm just going off what I've seen so far. I could be wrong. Absolutely. And I will tell you if I believe that I've gone down the wrong path and been misled myself. I'll be the first one to come on live stream and say, you know what? Trump's guilty. I was wrong. Now that I've seen more, it's become clear to me that Trump is guilty. I will come out here and say that. But at this moment in time, I don't think so. So guys, I'm going to have to hop off of here because I hear my kids downstairs. They're awake now. I got up at 4 a.m. to do this live stream. And, I still got to go to work, even though I'm sick. I still got to go to work. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in this morning. If you're watching the replay, be sure to click the like button Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. If you want to become a member of this channel, you can be a member of the 9 Foot Council for a couple dollars a month. If you go to the homepage of this channel and click join, I'll always make you guys a priority with your comments and stuff. And that's one of the perks of being a member. I'm going to come out with some more perks and stuff. You also get a special badge next to your name. It's pretty cool. But you don't have to. I don't want you guys to feel obligated if you don't have the means to do it. It's just it's more of a cosmetic thing. Like you get the badge, you get the emojis, your name shows up different in the comments, but don't, it's not I'm not gonna be putting a bunch of content behind a paywall that you have. Like I'm not gonna put the news behind a paywall that you have to pay for. I'm not doing that. Um and always use promo code Nick at checkout at mypillow.com. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.